If people do go to the show and see his portrait and read about it, it's a fascinating story. So he was from Berlin, and Berlin had a very interesting sort of history in the Holocaust because it was sort of the epicenter of Nazi Germany, but it was a very liberal, cosmopolitan place. So things there were a little different for the Jews. You couldn't go to high school anymore. He was a high school student, and he was from a fairly middle-class background, and he was studying to be whatever middle-class people become, and what happened was he was kicked out of high school. So you could go into trade school. So he studied to be an electrician. And that was lucky because tradespeople in Auschwitz and in some of the other camps were called useful Jews. Mm-hmm. They had skills that could be used to keep the camps going. And because he was an electrician, he survived. He worked in Auschwitz and then in Buna, which is a satellite camp. And his job was to keep the barbed wire electrified. So John was an electrician in the war, and he got to know some of the guards because they would take him around to do his job. When they took the Jews on the death march out of Auschwitz and took them he wound up in Bergen-Belsen, which was another form of hell. That's where Anne Frank, the diary of Anne Frank, that's where she died. And he arrived in Bergen-Belsen, but at that point he was just another inmate, another person to deal with, and they didn't feed them particularly anything to survive on. And one of the guards recognized him and said, "Oh, what are you doing in the general population? You're an electrician." So he took him, got him out of there and into a much better, more comfy, still horrible, but more comfortable surroundings. And the guard would take him around. Again, his job was to electrify the fence.